Brazilian President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva says he will respect Paraguayan rights in the Itaipu hydroelectric plant and stress the need for Latin American integration. Lula makes the comments after meeting with his Paraguayan counterpart Mario Abdo Benitez. French Secretary Forces moves into the Parisian Palace de la Concorde on Thursday to disperse thousands of demonstrators against the pension reform. Malawi's army joins the body recovery as the toll keeps rising after Cyclone Freddy hit the country. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Brazil's President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva says that he will respect Paraguay's rights at the Itaipu hydroelectric plant, which straddles the border between the two countries of the Paraná River. Lula makes the comments after meeting his Paraguayan counterpart Mario Abdo Benitez in the Brazilian border town of Voz de Iguacu. Lula referred to the future negotiations starting in of the agreement on the financial terms and position of the electricity services for the plant. In February, we paid the last installment of debt for the construction of the plant, which cost the two countries $64 billion. The Itaipu treaty dates back 1973 and then began operating in 1984.
But I come back with a firm will to reorganize UNASUR, to make the countries of South America understand the need to have peace and tranquility, because with this peace and tranquility and with a lot of democracy, we will ensure that our continent ceases to be a poor region.
In Colombia, labor unions and organizations are mobilizing in several cities in support of labor, health, and retirement reform promoted by the government of Gustavo Petro. The country's main worker unions said it will start marching in Medellín, Pereira, Cali, Barranquilla, and Bucaramanga to support the notion of work, health, and pension are the fundamental rights and not private businesses. The union representing teachers and pensioners will also take part in the mobilizations aimed at defending the right to life, decent work, pension, health, and education. Ecuadorian held a sitting in the outside of the National Assembly on Thursday to demand an impeachment trial against President Guillermo Lasso. The demonstrators stood in front of the parliament building and denounced the lack of security in the country. The legislator from the Social Christian Party, Esteban Torres, said that the document with the formal request for impeachment will be presented to the Assembly in a few hours. According to Torres, there is evidence that Lasso knew about corruption in companies and their linking with the drug trafficking. The Free Alex Saab movement and relative demand on Thursday the immediate release of the Venezuelan diplomat due to his worrisome health condition. He has been in prison for more than 1,000 days in the U.S. jail without receiving attention. In a press conference, lawyer Camila Fabri made an urgent call to the world to denounce the alarming current situation, which endangered his life, and asked the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to pronounce himself in this case. Fabri recalled that in July 2021, the working group and 4 United Nations special rapporteurs expressed their concern about the irreparable deterioration of the health state of Saab, who was kidnapped in June 2020 in Cape Verde and then extradited to the U.S. Also, Saab's wife points out that the diplomat was visited on July 7 by his family doctor, who reported a worrying situation in his health, being a stomach cancer survivor.
I do fear for my husband's life. I believe that there is no more time, because vomiting blood is a symptom of something, especially coagula of black blood. One fears and fears that the cancer may have returned again. And not only this, Alex also warns of serious and severe stomach pains. And obviously, this vomiting with blood clots is due to what it is because I do now know the medical attention. How much more this torture continue? How much more?
U.S. First Republic Bank will receive a $30 billion lifeline from a group of countries' largest bank to avoid collapse. The agreement follows fears in an eventual crisis of the financial institutions as a consequence of the current market instability in the wake of the abrupt fall in the share price and the caused record lowest at the bank recently. Banking supervisor welcomed the initiative as a measure to contain the financial chaos caused by the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Silvergate Bank in early March. The $30 billion infusion will give the San Francisco Bank a much-needed cash to meet customer withdrawals and buttress confidence in the U.S. banking system. Let's take coverage first break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Security forces intervened in the place of La Concorde in the heart of Paris on Thursday night to disperse thousands of demonstrators protesting against pension reform near the Chamber of Deputies. Thousands of people had gathered in the square since the mid-afternoon after the government passed an unpopular reform raising the retirement age from 62 to 64 without putting it into a vote in Parliament. Police said that officers used water cannons after an attempt to damage the ancient Egyptian obelisk in the center of the square. The actions provoked large crowds. Police fired tear gas to disperse their demonstrations from the bridge linking the Palace of La Concorde to the National Assembly lower house. French unions call for a new nationwide strike and demonstrations next week after the government pushed a pension reform through a National Assembly without a vote.
It is unbearable. We have been mobilized for 2 months and all the opinion polls show that they reject this pension reform, which is unbearable, and the political project it embodies. This forced passage of the 49.3, it's unbearable, it's indecent, and it's not going to stop there. We are here today and we will continue the mobilization in our workplaces, everywhere in the cities, in the streets, and elsewhere.
The demonstrators also expressed their disagreement with the approval of Article 49.3 and ratified their will to maintain the proposed general mobilization.
We have to get together, we have to get organized, we have to fight, we have to make a mess. As some people say, block everything, take action, and in any case, what is certain is that we have to go beyond the modes of operation which have prevailed until now, namely a bureaucratic leadership of the unions and of the movement which puts the whole base on one side. The idea is to attack and to try to install a relationship of force because in fact we can accept something like that, quite simply.
Given the support from a vast majority of the population that has mobilized for weeks, the unions continue to independently demand the withdrawal of the reform with calm and determined actions. They have decided to continue the mobilization and call on unions to hold small gatherings this weekend, and for a new day of strikes and demonstrations to be held on Thursday, 23rd of March.
In Germany, some 500 Israeli protests at Berlin's iconic Brandenburg Gate, waving Israeli flags, chanting and holding banners against Netanyahu's visit. Demonstrators reject the controversial legal reform that Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing in Israel. For several weeks now, thousands of people have taken to the streets of Tel Aviv to reject what they consider a violation of democracy and a threat to citizens' rights. In contrast, Netanyahu was defended during his meeting with the German Chancellor last fall, claiming that his plans were only intended to bring Israeli democracy in line with what is common and acceptable in almost all Western democracies.
Democracy in Israel, it's a must. We cannot give it up, and we're going to fight for democracy, do whatever it needed.
So I came here just for demonstration for today to welcome our want-to-be dictator prime minister and show him that we won't accept it. And this is either democracy or rebellion. There is no other choice.
On Thursday, Spain's parliament gave the green light to an animal welfare law, while also amending the penal code, bringing several penalties for abuses. Highlighting the importance of the date, Ion Balarra, Social Rights Minister of Podemos Paris Coalition, said that the parliament finally passed the first animal rights law since the country's return to democracy following the 1975 death of Francisco Franco. The legislation makes it obligatory for anyone adopting a dog to undergo training and impose a ban of leaving a dog alone for more than 24 hours. Changes to the penal code also ton up penalties for animal cruelty, ranging from 18 months in prison if the animal needs a veterinary treatment or up to 3 years if the animal dies under aggravating factors. Danish Premier Mette Frederiksen assured on Thursday that several Western countries are discussing the possibility of supplying more armament to Ukraine, including fighter jets. The announcement joins that of Polish President Andrzej Duda, who assured on Thursday that 4 MiG-29 aircraft will be sent to Kiev in the coming days. Frederiksen stressed at a press conference that there is already a commitment to send tanks and artillery. Germany has also fought to provide some 658 million euros in military aid to Ukraine since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. The Russian Orthodox Church leader, the Patriarch Kirill, denounced on Thursday the alarming eviction of monks from a monastery in Kiev over its links with Russia.
It is regrettable that when the state leadership of Ukraine declares its commitment to democratic norms and the European path of development, respect for human rights and freedoms, these rights and freedoms are then violated today in the most blatant way. I ask you to make every effort to prevent the forced closure of the monastery, which will lead to the violation of the rights of millions of Ukrainian believers in freedom of religion, guaranteed by the Constitution of Ukraine.
teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and your Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. On Thursday in Malawi, the army helped recover bodies as death toll keep rising. Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has described the situation as a national tragedy and appealed for global assistance. The government has pledged 1.5 million to help the tens of thousands of Malawians affected by the storm, which officials said has killed at least 525 people in the country. The cyclone began to fade on Wednesday last week after traveling 8,000 kilometers across the Indian Ocean before turning back over the ocean and then reversing course to hit Africa for a second time, sending an unofficial record as the world's longest tropical storm.
As of now, we are only trying to work in the areas where at least the platform is good. Because, you know, when we start digging and you are standing on a wet ground, the work is becoming very difficult. So at the moment, we are relying on the people who we are neighbors to people who are staying in the houses which have been swept away around this area. So once they inform us to say, okay, it seems like here there are people, we come and we try to help by digging. Looking at what is behind me, I can't say when we are finishing, because from the reports by the people who stay here, there were so many houses here, and so many people are missing, meaning to say down here there are so many bodies.
I can say that around my house here, 7 or 8 dead bodies have been found since the accident occurred. If we include those that were found alive and died at the hospital, the death toll can rise to 10, because I recovered some injured people and kept them in my house, and they died when they arrived at the hospital. This means that my hands have touched a total of 10 people who have died.
Anti-riot forces protesters clashed on Thursday in Senegal over the movement restriction imposed on the leader of the opposition, Patriots of Senegal Party, Ousmane Sonko. Armored police vehicles, barricades, and military personnel armed with assault rifles prevented the politicians from leaving his residence in the capital, as well as groups of supporters from arriving to the area after authorities denied the demonstrations permitted hours before. Sonko is known for his anti-government rants and criticism against the President of the Republic, Macky Sall, whom he accused of seeking re-election next year despite a constitutional prohibition to do so. On Thursday, the Swiss-Italian Gianni Infantino was re-elected as president of the International Association Football Federation, position he has held since 2016. As had already happened in 2019, he was the only candidate in conditions and was avoided by acclamation by the delegates, although federations such as those of Norway, Germany, and Sweden made it known that they had no support him. While the organization's status now provides from 3 terms of maximum of 4 years, Infantino has already paved the way to continue until 2031, declaring mid-December that he was still serving for his term in his 2016-2019 term was incomplete. Three weeks after the presidential elections, Nigerians will vote on Saturday to choose their governors, and all eyes are on Lagos, the economic capital and former stronghold of President-elect Bola Tinubu. For the first time in 2 decades, the Bull-Steep's megalopolis of 20 million people could elect a opposition representative. Nigerians will elect governors in 28 of the 36 states that make up the Federal Republic, as well as local government representatives. The fierce battle for Lagos, the country's economic powerhouse with its giant port and thriving businesses, is attracting attention. Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has called for more security cooperation and trade with South Africa. Hassan, Tanzania's first female leader, met South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in the capital Pretoria on Thursday, where her delegation of cabinet ministers discussed trade opportunities and possible agreements with their South African counterparts. This is Hassan's first official visit to South Africa since she became president of Tanzania, following the death of her predecessor, John Magufuli, in 2021.
Remain indebted to your nation, Tanzania, for your role in ushering in the rights all South Africans have been able to have access to during nearly 3 decades of freedom.
This state visit attests to the solid historical relations that so happily exist between our 2 fraternal countries. But it also speaks out our mutual desire to expand and deepen the relations for the betterment of our people and countries.
And we have come to the end of this brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.